Captain Elena Torres stared out of the small viewing window of the ship, her thoughts drifting as the stars outside flickered like distant fireflies. The ship, Odyssey, hummed steadily through the darkness of space. She had seen stars for years now, but the emptiness of space never seemed less daunting. They were on a mission to explore a newly discovered world, one that had no name, no history, just a planet in the void. Its only claim to fame the signal they'd received months ago. Her crew was restless, and she didn't blame them. This mission was far from exciting. It wasn't an invasion or a rescue mission or even a planet-hopping adventure. No, it was a simple archaeological expedition. The Odyssey was tasked with investigating ruins of an ancient civilization on a barren world in a far-flung part of the galaxy. The data they'd received suggested the ruins were ancient, but no one knew exactly how old. There was no sign of what had happened to the inhabitants or why they had disappeared. "Captain, we're entering the planet's atmosphere," a voice interrupted Elena's thoughts. It was Lieutenant Marcus Green, a young officer who had just been assigned to the Odyssey. He was eager, idealistic, and a little too enthusiastic for Elena's taste, but she had to admit, he was smart and a quick learner. "Understood. Prepare for landing. All crew members report to their stations," Elena responded, her voice calm and steady, masking the excitement that bubbled under her skin. This was the unknown, a place where humanity had never ventured before. It was thrilling and terrifying at the same time. The Odyssey descended through the atmosphere, shaking slightly as they passed through the thick clouds. The planet below was barren, an endless desert with cracked, lifeless soil stretching as far as the eye could see. There was no sign of plant life, no animal movement. The ruins were located on a plateau in the distance, just as the data had suggested. An hour later, the ship touched down with a soft thud, sending up a small cloud of dust. Elena stood adjusting her uniform, her mind racing with possibilities. What would they find here? Ancient technologies, relics of a lost civilization? Or perhaps answers to the mysteries that had plagued space explorers for centuries? She led her crew down the ship's ramp, and they stepped onto the planet's surface. The air was thin but breathable, with a faint metallic scent lingering in the breeze. They moved quickly toward the ruins, which looked like a crumbled temple or city center from the distance. It was mostly stone, with strange, intricate carvings that had eroded over time, but the structure still held together. Elena's eyes narrowed as she inspected it. There was something strange about it, an energy that hummed just beneath the surface, though she couldn't explain it. They entered the ruins, and the crew fanned out, each taking a specific area to search. The stone walls were lined with carvings and symbols, none of which were familiar. Elena ran her fingers across one of the walls, tracing the ancient writing. She wasn't fluent in alien languages, but she had studied enough to recognize the oddity of these markings. They were similar to scripts she had seen in long-lost archives of other civilizations, but nothing like this. "Captain," Marcus called from the far end of the room. "You need to see this." Elena walked toward him, her boots echoing on the stone floor. Marcus was standing near a large, cracked stone tablet. He had a small scanner in his hand, its screen glowing with ancient text. But it wasn't just any text, it was something different. The script had a familiar feel, but it was more precise, more urgent. "What is it?" Elena asked, her voice tense. Something about this felt important. Marcus squinted at the scanner. "It looks like some kind of message, a warning." Elena took a deep breath and knelt beside him, studying the symbols. The message read, "They guard what's worse." Her heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected that. For a moment, the words didn't make sense. It was as if the message had been crafted to be understood at an emotional level, more than a literal one. She glanced at Marcus, who looked as confused as she felt. "Guard what's worse," Elena muttered to herself. What did it mean? And why was this the only message left behind by a long-dead civilization? She turned to face the rest of the crew, who had gathered in a tight group, whispering among themselves. "Everyone, gather around," Elena called out. "We've found something important." The crew stepped forward, each of them studying the message with a mixture of confusion and awe. Lieutenant Green was the first to speak. "This doesn't make any sense," he said. "If this civilization was wiped out, why would they leave a message like that? It's almost like they were trying to warn us, but..." "Warn us about what?" Elena looked down at the tablet again. Her mind raced. What was this civilization protecting? Or perhaps more accurately, what were they hiding? The words "what's worse" stuck with her. Could there be something more dangerous out there? something buried so deep that entire civilizations had fallen to it. "We need to take this back to the ship," Elena said firmly. "Get scans of the entire area. I want to know everything we can about this place and that message." The crew nodded and began to gather their equipment, scanning the tablet and the surrounding area. Elena stayed behind, her thoughts lingering on the strange message. Guard what's worse. Was Earth somehow tied to this ancient mystery? As they prepared to leave the ruins, Elena caught sight of something in the distance, something she hadn't noticed before. A large structure half buried in the sand loomed ominously on the horizon. It looked like an ancient observatory or a control center, its tall spires reaching toward the sky, though they had crumbled with time. "We're not finished here," Elena said, her voice low but firm. "There's more to this world than we've seen." As the crew made their way back to the ship, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was at play. She had a nagging suspicion that the strange message wasn't just a warning for the explorers of this world. It was meant for someone else. Someone or something. Could humanity have stumbled upon a deeper mystery? Something that had been hidden from the galaxy for millennia? The answer lay in the ruin, and Elena was determined to find it. Back on the ship, Elena activated the communications relay. A signal buzzed through, and the deep voice of Admiral Hector Voss crackled through the speaker. "Report, Captain. Did you find anything of importance?" Elena glanced at the crew, who were now huddled around various monitors and scanners. "We found something, Admiral. A message, left by the civilization that once lived here. It says, 'They guard what's worse.'" There was a long silence on the other end of the line. When Voss spoke again, his voice was thick with suspicion. "Captain, I want you to proceed cautiously. This doesn't sound like a normal archaeological find. You might have discovered something." "Dangerous," Elena nodded. "Understood, Admiral. We'll keep you updated." As she ended the transmission, Elena felt a strange weight settle over her. She had just opened a door that could lead to something incredible, or terrifying. The message was clear. Earth and its people might be involved in something far bigger than anyone had ever realized. And the question still hung in the air. What were they guarding?